All right, guys. So this is the hero section we're gonna create, and I'm showing you again because the last time the animation didn't show up. So this time you guys can see that these are the animations we're gonna add at the end of this project. First, we will create everything, and then we will add. And this is the button from Magic UI, and we won't be creating that. So from Aceternity UI, we are going to use background beans, and I will simply copy the command from CLI and I will paste it in my terminal, and it will start downloading the background beams, and it will install all the the JSON file in packages which is needed. So it will create a background beams, and meanwhile I will create a new component called heroes.jsx, and inside this hero.jsx I will export a React arrow function. And now you guys can see the components in components UI background beams has been created, and to use them I need to create lib and utils. So we will do that so the backgrounds can work, and for that I will create a so you guys can see the backgrounds is appearing correctly. And now during the earlier recording my project code got corrupted, but in that time I created a folder named lib, and inside it a file called utils.js. I manually integrated the background by copy paste the code and from their docs. Unfortunately, that part didn't got recorded. Now this I created this section, gave some classes and give an ID of hero. Inside, I create a new div, and now let's give some classes. I will give it a max width of 2xl. I'm gonna give it a max mx of auto and padding 4, which is actually 16px. Now inside this div, I'm gonna create a new heading, and this will be a h1, and I'm gonna write hi I am, and then I'm gonna write span, so I can give different type of stylings to my uh, heading. I am Ahmad, and I will give a different type of my stylings. Now let's give some styling to h1. Let's type class name. Let's give it a position of a relative, and we will give it a z index of 10. So our heading will appear above our background, which is obviously an animated. So it is important to give it a position of relative and z index of 10. I will give it a text of 3xl, and for the medium above devices, I will give it a text of 6xl. And then I will give it a background clip text. So this is really important. Note that I'm gonna give it a text of transparent, and I'm gonna give it a background of gradient. So we can apply this gradient to our text. So I will start from top to bottom, and I will give it a neutral of let's say 200, which is almost like white, but not really white. And I will go from top to bottom to neutral 4 or maybe 600. Yes, 600 will be better. And I'm gonna say text center, and I will give it a font of Sans, and I'm gonna give a font of bold because it's our heading, so font should be bold. And I will give a margin bottom of 4, which is obviously 16 pixels. Now inside this spam, I'm gonna give a class name of text blue because I want to give it a different color. It will look good. Now you guys can see how it is looking. Now I will create a new p tag. I will create a paragraph, and I will write something. Let's give some classes, and I will give a text of neutral 400. So it will appear a little lighter, and I will give it a max width of 2xl LG. Let's give it LG, and I'm gonna give it a max of auto. I'm gonna give it a margin on y-axis for 2 and text. gonna be LG, and position gonna be relative, obviously, and Z index will be 10. It's really important when we are using some kind of animated backgrounds. And inside that, I wrote some classes, and you guys can see it's not really that special. So I, instead of wasting the time, I just wrote something here. Okay, so after that, I'm gonna create two buttons, which we saw, and I'm not gonna use that magic UI's button. I will create two simple buttons. Let's say inside this button, I'm gonna write project, and I will give it some stylings. Let's give it a background of blue 500, and I'm gonna say rounded full because I want it to be full, and I will give it some paddings. I'm gonna give it a px of 3 and py of, let's say, 2, because I don't want that button to be too large. And then I will give it a border, and text will be white, and the fonts is gonna be semi bold. It will look good. Let's see. Yes, the button has been created, but is appearing on the left side. Uh, I think I should enter text center. Maybe it will work, but I don't think it will work for me. But let's check. Yeah, it didn't work. Because I have to wrap this button inside a div and give some classes. But let's try item center. Maybe it will work. No, it is not working. Well, let's see if I did any mistake here. No, everything is fine. Now I'm gonna copy this button and I will paste it, because both the buttons will be much similar to each other. Now both are appearing, and I will give it some different classes. But before that, I'm gonna wrap them in a div so I can center them. So I've created this div and I will give it some classes. I'm gonna give it a class name, a flex. So it will be flex. I'm gonna say justify center and items center, and it will align both the buttons in the center. And I will give it a margin of top for 4, which is 16 pixels. Now you guys can see it's appearing in the middle. And let's give some margin in the button, so the both buttons will get some margin. I'll give a margin of 2. Now you guys can see they are appearing better. And in the next button, I'm gonna give it a background of transparent. I will say text. I'm gonna give it a border, border of blue. I already get that border, so that's why this yellow line is appearing. But I will remove it. Don't worry. 500, and now let's remove this border, and we will see it will be. Now it's looking better, and almost we are almost done. All I need to do is to create another, you know, an arrow, which was, up pointing to the bottom. Now let's create an A tag, and inside this A tag, I'm gonna use arrow down from Lucid React, and I will give it some classes. Give it a class name of text ng. I'm gonna give some margin from top. I want some, large margin from top. So I will give it a empty 20. I'm gonna give it font bold, and I will give it an animate of bounce. So it's not appearing. I have to give it a color. So I will give it a color, text, let's say white, and it will appear. Now you guys can see the arrow is appearing, and the background is also looking good. Let's give it an edge of skills. We don't have anything skills, like I haven't given an ID of skills to anything. So it's not working right now, but it will work. So our hero section is done here. And then we will move to skills section. And remember, skill section is really important we are going to apply so many logics in that section, and which is very important to understand. But for now, this is for the hero section, and now we will move to the skills section.